Hey, welcome back. First video of the not week of videos because I was in the process of fucking moving. So,
I mean, not 2 weeks of videos.
whatever. Close enough. I don't know what time it is anymore.
Of us filming anything anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we're Heavy Metal Truckers, and on these channels, this channel...
Excuse me, holy shit.
That went so fucking...
We rate Doppler's burps. And
no, we're not starting that shit. No, we are not doing that.
Velocity.
What we do here is we take a listen to metal and we give some thoughts on it. However, we ain't doing that shit right now because we've already listened to this, and now we're gonna give our review on the latest album from The Who called something, I don't even remember.
Hun.
Yeah, that.
Or the Hun or
Hun.
something. I think it just, yeah.
And while you guys let the review commence, while I'll get started on a new whiskey.
Alright, so when did I hear...
Oh shit, I can.
Oh. When did I hear about The Who? Dear Christ. That's an awesome question. It was back when, like, I think it was UVU came out.
Mm-hmm.
So then what, like 2018?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
2019.
Yep. And obviously, let's see. Does it say when it came out? UVU released 2018. So yeah.
2019.
This is really all Fitzgerald thing? Oh, cool.
Yeah, UVU and Wolf Toll came out in 2019. Shug Shug, The Great Genghis Khan was 2019, and Song of Women was 2020. Let's see. But anyway, so basically, pretty much since they released the first song, then I loved it back then because it was different. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very
Intriguing.
Well, yeah, but I mean more as in like their sound. It was very
Mongolian tribal.
Creative.
well, yes, native feeling, kind of like taking you back to your not roots, but you know what I mean. I don't know, I can't think of the name word, but whatever. Which I really liked about it. Yeah, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
Is what. Yeah. And it really, you know, it really drew them. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so it really drew them to me. When I became a fan. That being said, when we saw they were coming out with new music, I think the first song they released was The Real You, which Frosty really enjoyed.
We got work.
Pincushion and I were very worried. There was two others that they released, but I don't remember if we covered any of them.
No.
I think one was Echoes of My Father, and was it Horseman? I don't remember. But I remember those. One of them I really enjoyed because it felt a little more old school, and the other one was kind of in between. So going into this album, I ain't gonna lie, I was nervous. I knew it had potential to give Evanescence Sanctuary album run for its money for my not least favorite, but like most disappointing album of the year. There we go. At least I was nervous it would. Now, starting off, I can say it did not deceive, or whatever the word is you want to call it, the Sanctuary album from Evanescence, but I was still somewhat disappointed in the overall album. Now, at the first song, I was quite hopeful because the first song was excellent. It was what I grew up in, or not grew up, because they've only been around 4 years.
Really?
No, 8 years. Around 8 years. But it was the sound that got me into them. So I was like, all right, awesome start. Was happy. And then you got to the atrocity that was the second song. I don't know. Like, when I was listening to it, all I could think of was Why. That has got to be the least Who song that I've ever heard the Who do. Not only that, but I can't stand Nothing More. I've talked about it on here before. I've never liked them. I find even the people in it to be obnoxious. You know, and don't get me wrong, his voice was okay in there. It was fine. That wasn't the problem. I don't know. I can't do it. So that made it even worse for me. You know, like, this was a song that if somebody else had done it, it would have been all right. You know, I still wouldn't have loved it, but it would have been okay. But with The Who, it just, no. The album could have completely done away with that song, and it would have been light years better. Even the second time I listened to this album, I skipped that one. Because I can't do it. Now, the next two were decent. Maybe it was three. I don't really remember Shadow, so it just not have stood out very much. What was it? The Universe wasn't bad, but it was too long. And what I mean by that is, like, I think it was over 8 minutes long. But the song musically didn't change enough for it to work for that long period of time. It began to feel dragged out, like it was drug out. To where somebody like me, who has ADHD, very easily loses, mind begins to wander and you aren't really listening to what's going on anymore. That song could have easily been 3 minutes shorter for me. Second Face it was alright. Already talked about The Real You. It wasn't the only song that had this problem. But it was way too modern for what I like about The Who. Like, it was a modern rock or metal song with Who undertones. That's basically what it was. And it wasn't the only song like that. Which those are the ones I didn't really care for.
That's dangerous.
Huh?
That's dangerous.
Oh.
Is that new one?
So, overall, it was an okay record. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Like, to me, there's a couple songs you could have removed, made it a shorter album and a much better album. I know there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me because songs like The Last Soul, and no. It's probably the most radio-friendly song they've ever done. But as a whole, it was alright, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. So, decent, but not really what, as a whole, what I would want from him.
I understand. Let me think. So, I was introduced to The Who.
What was your rating?
Pretty much the same year Doppler was. 3. Love the attention to detail. I was introduced to The Who the same year that Doppler was. The person who showed me was my aunt.
Oh, I remember now.
And I don't know. It just kind of took me by surprise that she was the one who introduced me to it. But yeah,
Knowing her, not really.
she introduced me, and then one of her sons was along with her when they introduced it to me. But I didn't necessarily keep up with them after kind of seeing that. I do know that The Who was in Jedi: The Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor as like playable songs that you can listen to in the games. So it was kind of nice to be able to like play along and listen to The Who just naturally in game. Like they were like the major like a kind of like a boss battle song at one point. It was pretty cool the way it happened. But yeah. But anyway, getting into the album, I knew that we were going to have a couple of weeks off, so I waited until earlier this week to actually listen to it. So the first song really felt like, like The Who that I was introduced to. Second song did not sound like them at all. And it was just kind of that the rest of the way through. It was like you kind of have some new school stuff, but then you have some older sounding Who. It was just kind of like a back and forth of, what you're hearing. It's like, so to me, if you're going to do the new stuff, just stick with the new with like maybe like a note of like some of the old in it. Or if you're going to do the old stuff, just do the old stuff, especially when it's already a tried and true that everyone loves. Just do that. But like this whole back and forth of like, hey, we're going to do this that doesn't sound anything like us versus, hey, we're going to do this that sounds exactly like what you've all heard before. It becomes an album of greatest hits and what the hell is this? So it does get a little bit confusing. I had this like feeling halfway through the album that it was starting to sound more like country. And as the album kind of progressed onward, it just felt more and more like throat country. And I was like, it's not terrible, but
remarks on that.
kind of threw you through a loop. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I know I enjoyed the Who singles that we reviewed. I definitely really enjoyed that very first song on the album. But it's like the whole back and forth between, you know, old and modern, and I'd much rather them kind of have a more stable base of sound throughout the album. I mean, don't get me wrong, versatility is important and everything, but do something different with like the old school stuff. Still have that old school sound, old school vibe. Just versatility within that song, not like, hey, we're gonna completely not sound like ourselves. So for me, the album, I had to give it a 2.5. I was a little let down by it. So
Gotcha. So it's probably gonna be the quickest review you've ever heard from me.
I don't like at the end.
Okay, well, fuck you too. Until next time, whether musically, lyrically, or literally, no, I first discovered the Who probably roughly around the time Doppler did, to be honest. And it was probably the same bloody track too, so it was, yeah, it was fascinating.
It's unanimous.
I greatly enjoyed it, and that's about the extent of my memory regarding it. And then then we were hearing this album was coming out, and we're like, oh, interesting. Heard their first single. Oh shit. That's kind of basically how that went. I listened to the second single, and I'm like, okay, a lot better. The album came out. Listened to the first track. Holy fuck, was that phenomenal. Then track 2 hit. Why? Why?
That's what I said.
Why is whiskey so goddamn good? Like, you guys have no idea. Like, this is like giving Knob Creek almost a run for its money. No, why the fuck would you even remotely consider that as a good idea unless some label told you, hey, we wanted this on Sirius XM and we want everyone and their brother
Maybe that's what happened.
maybe to be potentially fascinated by it. Here, do a collab that no, everyone's gonna forget in 2 months. Go for it.
Right.
The rest of the album was a blend of modern, whatever you want to call it, and you can mark my coin on this term, heavy Mongolian bluegrass, and goddamn, I loved it.
Yeah, not to say like, because I'm not a big fan of country. Not to say like when I mentioned that it was country-esque, I hated it. It was just
Oh, it was bluegrass to
Just
the fucking
making the
T,
point.
just Mongolian style and some heaviness thrown in. It, like, that was the rest of it. The only two tracks that were really different was Echoes of the Father and Universe, which Universe was probably one of my favorite tracks on there, aside from Warrior Chant, because I was able to damn near lose myself completely. And then they finished it with Second Face, and I'm like, why the hell did you guys organize it this way? You should have put Universe last. That was an amazing.
Yeah,
an amazing
I
closer.
was
I'll agree with
wondering,
that.
too.
Absolutely.
Not so much that because I thought it was an amazing closer, but just because typically when you have such a long song like that, it's usually at the end.
That was composed and orchestrated beautifully enough to be a closer.
Until my mind started wandering, I did enjoy it because the song stayed the
I
same
can see that
for
I
the
can see
most
that for
part.
you, yeah.
all the way through. My ADD just started drifting off constantly.
Yeah, for me, I was transfixed into it. But yeah, it's rough because the parts that were good in this were fucking amazing and phenomenal. And the parts that were were wow, man. And the parts that were bad was the second track. So for that, I gotta give it a 3 out of 5, just because again the parts that were good were phenomenal and fun. But am I gonna buy this album? No way. Like, even if they took the
Their
second track off,
first album was better.
I don't even remember. But yeah,
Oh, Gallagher's pointing on me.
but yeah. So that was our review of the Who, and actually, Greg was pretty good. Anyways, until next time, musically, lyrically, or literally, keep on it.